Zoom for the sharing later. Okay, so let me walk you through the program for today. First, we'll be briefly welcomed by Prof. Peter, our project director, and then following by the word cloud and speaker introduction, as well as the presentation and sharing. And then we end today with the recap and Q&A. The session mainly will be moderated by Prof. Du Sheng. So please allow me to welcome Prof. Peter to welcome us all before we begin the next session.
Yes. Okay, so welcome. Good afternoon to you. So I'm happy to see that some people join for this, I think, very interesting issue and topic, how to do actually successfully a research journal. How can it be done and how can it be helpful for the development of our universities, of our internationalization? I'm very grateful that we have a high-level speaker from Malaysia. I'm looking forward to learn a lot. So I took here my writing pad to the side. So I will take lots of notes because we are always considering as well to be better in that respect. So welcome to you all. I'm looking forward to. Thank you as well, Du Sheng, for being the moderator for today's discussion. But especially thank you to our professor from Malaysia, from MMU. You all know MMU because of Du Sheng, the Multimedia University, very, very powerful private player in Malaysia and successfully managing to be heard and seen in Malaysia and beyond. So I'm looking forward to have a good discussion, reflection, thought-provoking on my side morning and on your side afternoon. Okay, welcome. Du Sheng.
Thank you very much, Prof. Peter, for your warm welcome and then enthusiastic speech. So let me move on to the next session. So I would like to invite Prof. Du Sheng to moderate and lead the rest of the session.
Thank you very much, Floyd. Welcome again from my side from Malaysia. Yeah, I'm very happy that today my colleagues had the opportunity to share with you how MMU, the first private university in Malaysia, and we developed over the 25 years, and now we have our own MMU press. And Professor Tan Xiaohui is I think you are the first director, right, to lead this MMU press. So let me have just a few words to introduce her. I think I know her since for many years. You joined, Prof. Tan joined MMU in 2000, I think, year 2000. Yeah, so almost 25 years already, yeah. And she actually is totally 100% local made. Yeah, in terms of academics, I'm very happy to claim that actually. She graduated a bachelor, master, and PhD from University Putra, Malaysia. It's very close to Multimedia University. And she has developed herself in many areas, including leadership. She was the program coordinator for programs and also unit heads and also deputy deans before she assumed this role as the director of the MMU Press. In terms of research, she's very outstanding. I'm very impressed by her publication. Yeah, I think we can learn a lot from her sharing. Frankly, she actually performed better than me. Yeah, in terms of citation, in terms of this H index. Actually, I'm very proud to say that it's young for her to achieve that. I think that's it. Yeah. I will let her introduce herself some more if she like to. And also share with you about how MMU established our MMU Press and how it impacts our university research culture. Thank you. Prof. Tan, the time is yours. Oh, sorry. Before that, we have a word cloud. Floyd, please go ahead. So for the word cloud, I would like you to answer two questions. The first one is why many universities have their own journal, actually. If you look around, especially those very established university, John Hopkins, Cambridge, of course, Oxford, they have their own press actually. My question is why many universities have that, and why MMU also followed in the last few years. So can you use the I think the QR code there, I think you can go in to answer the question.
Or you can also click the link in the chat box.
Yeah, it's a Mentimeter. I'll give you a few more seconds. Yeah, just why many universities have their own British, yeah, independent, yeah. Of course, yeah, many for the reputation. Great. Branding, yes, yeah. No, for knowledge, yeah. Yeah, as a tool, as a way to support the young researcher, yeah, to have their work published internally or locally first. Yes. For innovation, for improvement, yes. Thank you. Another few more. Maybe someone will ask ChatGPT, yeah, what's the answer from ChatGPT actually? Record, yeah, of course, support junior. I think very important is one, the university, if they are the leading in the particular discipline or field, right? Actually, there's no journal to publish. So they had to come up their own journal. And one of the reasons of those very established university, because they are the pioneer. All right, thank you very much. I think we can move to the second question. Thank you very much for your participation. What is the importance of a research journal? Okay. Floyd, what happened?
Probably some mistypo. For those who already clicked the link to continue for the next question, don't forget to click next as well in your screen. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Journal. The importance of journal, research journal, is to help us develop and keep record, archive the knowledge. Yeah, and also disseminate the knowledge among the researcher so that we can help one another. Yeah, to progress in that particular discipline. Right. Yeah, of course, you have your journal published, you can apply for teaching position. Yeah. Yeah, actually, for research journal really carry our reputation as a academia. All right, I think, thank you. We should not take more time. Thank you very much for your sharing. Yeah. So now we can move on directly to Prof. Tan sharing. Prof. Tan, yeah. Roy, I think we can let her share her screen. Thank you.
Sorry, yeah. Roy, do you mind to share on behalf of the slides?
Okay, sure.
I'm just sending you the latest version because I think the earliest one is too lengthy. Sorry for the inconvenience.
And so please wait for a moment. Okay, so share the screen.
Hello, Sujita.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, Peter. Good afternoon, the rest.
Good to have
Good
you here.
afternoon ค่ะสวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Right. Prof. Tan, I think your slide is, now we can see your slide. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be given to me for me to have some small sharing with you all on some things on the research journal. And basically, I would like to share about the establishment and the development of MMU Press and some of the lessons that I learned through over the past few years. Okay, thanks to Prof. Dusem. So I hope that I do not disappointed you because you have, I think you know me more than I know myself, based on the introduction. Okay, so I try my best to do my sharing. Please stop me if you have anything that you would like to me to clarify and so on. Right. Today's my menu. Right. So I believe that is in the afternoon. So I believe that you all have a lunch. So I try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, else you all will fall asleep. Huh? Okay, so today's in terms of the establishment of the research journal, I believe that as an academics, as a research, we know that how important is the communication from something that we did, and then on how we can have a proper record in terms of all the works that we have researched and so on. So that is the reason for why I do not basically start with the MMU Press on how it's being established, because I understand that to establish a journal, I have to frankly tell you all, to establish a journal is very easy. I have to tell you, to establish a journal is very easy, but to sustain and to make it a branding, to make it a good reputation for the university is very challenging. Okay, and that is something that, but luckily we have a very good indexation in which we know the criteria. It's just like the academics. I always mentioned, Prof. Ong Tu Seng just now mentioned that I'm basically when I was young, my career path is more towards the academics program. So Prof. Tu Seng actually trained us up on how to develop a good program. He lead us go through all the accreditation of the program of our economics degree and so on. So to me, to establish a journal is very easy, but in order for you to sustain and to bring a good reputation to the university, that is something we are still trying our very best, and it is very challenging. So perhaps from the very beginning, we have to know for why there is a need for the journal publication in the world, not only to our university. Okay, so this is mainly the content that I would like to share with you in terms of the scholarly communication and in terms of the journal publishing, and why it is so important to have a peer review, and how to ensure that the journal and who will be the one who govern the journals in which we do not make ourselves into a predatory journals. I believe that you all know that. I think especially recently we heard the news on the retraction of the many articles by well-known publisher. So why does it happen about? Okay, and we would like to share with you our small journey, right? A small achievement in which we get our MMU Press journals into a local indexation. And later, I would like to share with you some of the journeys that we have gone through, and perhaps looks for the collaborations from all of you later on. So, please next. Okay, so about this scholarly communication. So we know that innovation is something that is very important, and it is a measure for the economic growth, regardless we are from the developing countries or we are from the developed countries. So how to measure this developed innovation? Basically, we know that we need to have an indicator. And one of the very good indicators is for the R&D, research and development. So this will be one of the indicators to use to measure how successful we are in terms of the innovation. Okay, because of the importance of this research and development, so we can see that many of the government, okay, they try to make the R&D an area of the focus in the economics and social developments, and to provide the fundings to drive the R&D in the country. I believe that most of the countries, most of us here, we have the Ministry of Education in which they provide the funding to support the researchers. So that is mainly to support the innovation to develop our countries. Okay, so please next. Okay, definitely we have the support from the government, we have support from the fundings in order for us to do the research and the development. We need to come up with something. We cannot just do the research and without having an what to say is a tangible output. And one of the tangible outputs we can say that is the scholarly publication, and one of the very common forms that is the research journals, right? So we can say that to contribute to the advancement of knowledge. So whatever being researched need to be published. Okay, so that's it, very simple for why we need to have the journal published by our researchers and why there is a need for the establishment of the journal. We need to have this communication being clearly spelled out. Okay, so please next. Okay, so this is actually the quote from one of the researchers, Whitesides, in which he mentioned that if the papers is, it's just, they try to define what is the research paper. So it's an organized piece of the work, and they provide evidence on the data, and they provide the policy implication and the conclusion in which that can benefit the reader. So in other words, if your research does not generate papers, no one will know it. So perhaps later on, someone's already published and you cannot claim that, hey, that is actually my idea, right? So that is as simple as possible. Once you have research, you have to put it into a black and white so people will recognize that that is something being developed. Okay, so next. Right, so this is basically the life cycle for the scholarly communication. Starting from the journals or the government institution, they provide the fundings for the scientists. Scientists can be referring to the social scientists, so which is the scholars, academics, right? So when the funding is given to us, so we will conduct the research. So from the research, we provide the findings, we prepare the manuscript, and then the scholars will find a publisher to publish the works. Studied state end of the story? No, right? So once the publishers publish, so basically these are when I say that the libraries will subscribe to the journals. So this is mainly, we can see that it is a very conventional types of the business model. So once the publisher publish, normally the university, the institution, the library will make the subscription. So in which the content of the journals or the articles can be seen by the researchers, and they can learn from that and can reproduce the new knowledge. So that is mainly the research cycle in the scholarly communication. Okay, right. So next, please. So now we roughly know that once the research is being developed, we need to publish it. So where to publish, and why is it so important for us to publish in the journals? Why is it must be in the journals? Can't I just publish and then because currently we know that the social media, we know that the platform is that I have a blog. Can't I just publish like that way? So what is the difference between the journal publishing and also the scholarly works? Okay, and next. So journal publishing, right? So we as a researchers, I believe, right? So we believe that something that we have created, we have researched is something very robust, and we have tested during using many types of analysis, and we try to come up with a conclusion, and we are so excited to share with the papers around the world on our publication. Okay, but when we submit to the journals, how we as a researchers select a journal? Perhaps you all know that you all have more experience than me. Okay, so then how do I know that which journals should be some things that I should publish? So you can see that when you are so excited to come up with a great work, right? So, but does this great work actually work? Actually very good for the society? We do not know yet, right? So it is something that you're finding. Is it being validated? Is it something really reliable? So in terms of the social science, the implication may go to the society. Okay, if we found out something wrong, if we finding, but it is being published without any going through the review, then and the result is not being validated. So the long-term impact may be harmful to the society. It's just like science, when you develop a model in which the model, if that do not go through a proper validation. What will happen? Okay, especially I believe that the medicine, they need to have a very stringent types of the review, else the impact will be very immediate, especially in terms of the human beings. Okay, unfortunately, we can see that the Elsevier, okay, Elsevier is a commercial and is a very giant publisher. They found out that actually 30% to 50% of the articles don't even make it to the peer review process. Meaning that, again, researchers, I'm very happy to share my research. I publish it, but if we can see the statistics, 30% to 50% of the articles do not have the peer review process. So what is so important about this peer review process? Okay, please next. Right, so journal publishing, especially in terms of the scholarly, when we say that this is something, the articles that we publish as compared to something that I can share with in the blog. So publisher rely very heavily on the peer review. Okay, and this peer review will uphold not only the quality, the reliability, the validity, and also the integrity of the journal they publish. So this peer review, actually, I believe that most of us have been a reviewer before. Okay, so we know that how important, because the editorial team, later I'm going to share with you, the editorial teams basically rely very much on our peer review to make a decision on the manuscript that they receive. Okay, next please. Right, so this is something I would like to share, articles being retracked. I believe that this news actually is not new, but it's keep recurring. So articles being retracked. So if you try to see that these are not a small publisher, these all are the journals from the huge publishers, the one we have in the Sage publication. Sage is a very well-known commercial publisher. They also have the retraction notice from the articles being published. Okay, whereas from another side, so the CNN is having a reporting that the journal publisher have to retract the studies used by the Texas judge who rules to suspend use of the something. So we can see that if there is no proper review in which the journals is being passed through and being published. So we see that scholarly works is something we have to benchmark, we have to follow, we have to, and the policies come from that. So what if the evidence that you provided is actually fake? So meaning that the policymakers are actually using the fake evidence to make the policies. So we can see that the impact will be very harmful. It will be very harmful to the society as well. So this is something that when we talk about the journal publishing, something that we need to really go through. What is the difference between the journals and also the write-up in the blogs is because we are having the peer review process. Okay, all right, so please next. Okay, so this peer review process, definitely we know that the reason, the justification, or why we have to really look seriously in this peer review is because they ensure the quality of our research, starting from the beginning. And they try to validate our results. For example, if I'm using econometrics one, right? So who knows that that econometrics method really lead to the correct decision? So I can assume that I'm right, but I need someone who validate my result. So that is the importance for us to get, for the journals to get us a correct peer review, and we go through the validation. Okay, from if you find a very good expert or the reviewer, they can actually give us a very good suggestion to add to improve our manuscript, so we can contribute more to our research findings. So that is the importance for why we need to have a peer review process. Okay, perhaps next. Okay, so these are basically, I believe that we know that there are many types of the peer review. If you happen to be the reviewer, sometimes you will kind of curious. Me as a reviewer, how come I know who are the authors of the paper? I'm not sure whether you go through this experience or not. So basically, there are different types of the peer review. So we have single blind, we have double blind, and we also have a triple blind. So single blind meaning that authors will not know who are the one who reviewed the paper. But we as a reviewer, we will know who are the authors. So perhaps they are your friends. So will be very to be independent to do their review. So that is a pro and cons in different type of the review. Okay, so the double blind meaning that authors do not know who are the reviewers, and the reviewers do not know who are the authors, but the editors will know. Okay, so that is the second type. So the triple blind meaning that we do not know any of them. So how, perhaps you will wonder, how come the editors also do not know who are the authors? Believe that when they come into the journal system, so mainly the papers do not go to the editors in chief, which is the leaders of the papers yet. They will have a managing editors in which there is a non-academic or the admin to handle, in which they will try to take up and make sure that the papers is anonymous before they proceed to the editorial decision. So that is how it becomes the triple blind review. Okay, so this is mainly different types of the review. We cannot say that which is best, which is not good. It really depends on the journal policy and depends very much on the reviewer. Do we follow our ethics in doing the review? So that is the most important part. All right, so for reviewer, so my students, sometimes they come to me and ask, they say, Dr. Tan, I have not even published in that is a Q1 journals, but why they ask me to review the papers? Okay, so I tell them very easy. When you submit the papers to that particular journal, they ask you a very simple question. Are you willing to be the reviewer? And your answer is yes, I'm willing. So that is how your name be captured in that review system. So before, if you understand that the review process is very important, so before, that's why I asked them, right? So if before you accept the review invitation, do ask yourself, are you able to do a proper review for that manuscript? Do you really have the time to go through a 40 pages of the manuscript within the timeline given, right? You can say that you want to try, yes, but please make sure you do a proper peer review, because whatever you wrote is very important for the editors for them to make the decision, right? So you can see that basically in terms of the journal publication, what makes it different as compared to just some working papers being published without going through the peer review. So journal being published has gone through a proper peer review. So that is the difference to ensure the quality. Okay, so perhaps next. Right, so we know that that is so important for the peer review. So next, I would like to just discuss about on the governance of the scholarly journal management. Okay, right. This is major challenge in journal publishing. I have to tell you, to be a publisher, to be a journal editor, there are a lot of the challenges, and the challenges is not static, it's dynamic. When you first establish your journal, the concern, the worry is no one wants to submit to you. Okay, so but when you are developed, when you start to become something in which people trust on your journal, so you have more problems to come. Okay, it does not mean that you have no problem. You have more problems to encounter, right? For example, if you have initially you have only 10 papers for you to review. So currently, because of your reputation, you may come into 100 or 1,000 per month. So how are you going to handle that kinds of the review, right? So that is very challenging. So second, it is also very challenging for you to get the to find a suitable peer reviewers. I believe that normally I would say that most of us have received a lot of the review invitation through the email. Sometimes in a day, you can receive up to 10. So how are you going to handle? So they will ask you to agree, decline, or unavailable. So basically this one is to highlight how difficult to find a suitable review. I have many of the articles in which I submitted, and now when I track the record, this is still pending reviewer assignment. So even though that is already 3 months, so they are still not able to find us a reviewer to go through the review, right? So believe that. So if this happen to be a very high reputation types of the journals like the Q1, Q2 journals, so what if your journals is a new journals, it is more challenging for us to find a good reviewer to support us and to write us a good review for our papers. Okay, so some of the challenges also increasing numbers of the submission once the journals, like I mentioned, if you already have a reputation, so more papers are coming. So when there are also many papers coming, you also start to worry about, so should I accept all? Okay, because the journals, they also need to have a diversity. They do not only want to publish only all Malaysian cases, or they do not only want to focus on one discipline. They have their achievement in order for them to achieve. Okay, so and then when the papers increase, so you have to start to think of how to address the increasing cases of the misconduct. So trust me, when people submit the papers to you, some of them they are really do not know whether that they do is correct or not. So they may have something wrong in their research in which you really have to guide them through. So that is one of the responsibility or our commitment as a journal publisher. Okay, and definitely as a publishing, people will think that this is like a business. So you will have a competition with the other journals to get more good articles to your journals as well. Okay, perhaps next. Right, so what are the criteria for a good journal? So this is basically the 10 criteria given by the Scopus, one of the investigation center on how to develop high quality journals. So name of the journals, you cannot have a very similar, normally you can see if you heard about the predatory journals, they try to mirror the journal names with some journals which is having a very high reputation. So we need to be very aware when we are selecting the journals for us to submit. So we also can try to examine through the editorial board, right? So who are sitting in the editorial board? So that is very important in governing the journals. Okay, so what about the peer review process? So who are the authors and the authors' responsibilities? Okay, the publication ethics, copyright, archive, ownership, website, and also the publication schedule. So the last one, perhaps you will say why the publication schedule is also something very important. So being a journalist, we have the responsibility when the authors submit their work to us. Okay, so you cannot pen their journals articles for 1 or 2 years, then you come up with a decision, right? So this is unfair to them because when people submit their journals articles to you, so it means that they trust you. Okay, so they trust you. That's why we need to have our responsibility, our commitment to ensure the work's being properly reviewed and come into a conclusion or a decision for them to proceed. So it's no point for us to pen them for 2 years and then we reject. So that is why high quality journals, they also have this very stringent in terms of the timely publication. Okay, so next perhaps. Right, so who is the one who be the governance of the scholarly journal management? So the structures given is basically, we can say that there is no perfect structure in each of the journals. It really depends on the needs, and also it depends on the policy for such the publisher, be it commercial or the university, right? So, but basically we can see that each of the journals will be led by the chief editor. So it's just like a CEO of a company, right? So they have a chief editors, but the chief editors, there must be someone who is already very well recognized in that area, else they cannot lead the process. Okay, and definitely he himself or she or herself cannot know everything. So that's why they need to have an advisory board to advise in terms of if something happened. So and if editors need further discussion, so who can they refer? So that will be the advisory board to come in. So again, when the editorial board, chief editors, their charge is to lead and to try to promote the journals, they need to have a team to work with. So the main very minimum small scale of the journal editorials, that will be you need to have editors. Under these editors, you can split them into the managing editors. Managing editors is just like your assistant, in which when the manuscript comes in, they will first do the turn in to check on the plagiarism, and then to let you know for your next decision. So that is the managing editors. So same go to some of the journals that do have an editorial assistant. And for these copy editors, mainly is when your journals, when articles, the reviewer recommend to accept for the publication. So of course, definitely we know that when we submit in just a plain document. So without proper formatting, without really going through the format or the typeset required by the journal. So each of the journals, they will have their own copy editors to do all the formatting or the typesetting to ensure that that is aligned with the journal's layout and design. So that is mainly some of the very important key persons in managing a journal. Okay, so this is just a rule of action. I believe that you all know it well. So I will skip this slide. Right, so this is mainly, if we can see that the authors is a life cycle of the manuscript. So when the authors do the submission, okay, so mainly they will go to the editor. So in this stage, normally basic requirement met, meaning that whether the journals fulfill the similarity or the plagiarism requirement. Some of the journals, they have a benchmark 10% of the similarity in which they will desktop reject, meaning that that's reject, they do not proceed to the next step. Okay, so that mainly may be due to the high similarity. That is also because perhaps the editors think that that paper submitted, even though it's good in quality, but that might not be aligned with their aims and also the scope. So the editors will not want to waste the author's time, do not want to waste the reviewer time. They will just reject some of the author's papers, despite the author's papers are good quality. Okay, so once, let's say the editors, the papers go through a very, fulfill the similarity requirements in which plagiarism is very low, and in which the editors think that these papers is suitable to proceed further. So at this time, the editors will try to assign the reviewer. So then the headaches start. So because to approach a reviewer is definitely very challenging. And some of the researchers, some of the journals, or I would say that most of the journals, they do not only send to one review. Okay, they will send to 3 reviewers. Why is it? Because first review will be very subjective. 2 review, perhaps you will see that, okay, one say yes, one say no. So you have to waste your time to get another 3rd reviewer. So most of the times the editors will send to 3 or 4 reviewers, and they will try to get, once the first 2 review come in. So if 2 of the reviewers have a consistent decision, so they can proceed faster, right? So that is when once the reviewer come back with the comments, so the editors will ask the authors to review, to continue to revise, or to reject. So that is the whole life cycle of the manuscript, in which the editors play an important role to communicate with the reviewer and to ensure the works reviewer suggests has been revised properly by the authors. Okay, so that is to ensure the articles being validated and the information is accurate in the articles. Okay, please next. Okay, so now we roughly know that, all right, basically each of the journals, they have editorial boards to manage. Okay, so these editorial boards, how do they make the decision? And how does this editorial board actually bring further the journals towards the other path of the journey? Okay, so that's come to the journal indexation and the evaluation criteria. Okay, please next. Right, so why is it so important for this indexation? So this is a study found many years ago, 2016. It says that the STM reported that they are totally 28,000. That is how many years ago? 28,000 peer-reviewed journals. And these 28,000 peer-reviewed journals, they publish more than 2.5 million articles a year. Wow, okay. And these numbers, they found that it's increasing, not only in terms of the journals, but in terms of the articles being published, increased 3 to 3.5% per year. So we can see that that is so huge of the increase of the amount, not in terms of the journals, but also in terms of the article publication. Okay, Next. Okay, now the issues and the challenges come. So why each of the journals, when you look at the journal, people will say, hey, are your journal indexed or not? Am I right? So that's come to the challenge. So we can see that based on the statistics again, we can see that millions of the articles is being published by year. Okay, and the numbers are growing. And research found that 50% of the research publication are never read. No one read some things that you publish because they are too much. Okay, and 90% never cite. That is a very sad news. You publish, meaning that 50% no one read, and someone read and never cite your work. So you can see that citation, why is it so important? Because 90% is never cited. Okay, perhaps we can go next to have a better view on what is this. Okay, so we can see that the struggling scientists, please cite my papers. So people say that when you usually say that, okay, your citation need to be how many and the H index need to be so many. So why is it so important for us to cite the paper? Okay, right, so next please. Okay, articles published need to be visible. You see that why people cannot cite your paper? Why people do not found your study? Okay, if people do not found your study, your papers are not visible. If your papers are not visible, so you, regardless what knowledge you publish, perhaps you publish in a very good journal, but if your paper is not seen, how can you disseminate your new knowledge to the others? That will be a waste of the resource. Okay, so it's also increased in the impact and visibility of the research, right? And also can establish a researcher's reputation. Okay, and actually, if you are not visible, then that will be vanished, right? It's very simple. Okay, please next. So articles visibility, okay, definitely in terms of the researcher or the university, we know that the researcher's citation is very important because visibility, articles visibility, meaning that the citation will count and it will contribute to the author's H index. Okay, so and the journal itself, when the authors gain the H index, the journal itself also can accumulate the impact factors. So that will accumulately increase the performance of the scholarly outputs. So that is in terms of each of the articles visibility. So in terms of the journal visibility, next please. Okay, journal visibilities, meaning that why the journal need to be visible. When you establish your journal, why you must make sure that your journals be indexed, right? Because the journal visibility, the content being referred to and cite more frequently. Your journal can be seen, people will refer and people will cite you more. So when people cite you more, the branding will increase. So when the branding increase, authors will increase the submission. When we say that the authors will be interested to publish with you due to the branding, so they will submit a higher quality papers. So you as a journalist, you will be very happy if you can publish a very high impact quality journals articles from the researchers. Okay, so that is visibility, not only importance in terms of the researchers, it is also very important for the journal. Okay, so how to make our journal to be visible? Next, please. Okay, so who now is going to be the responsibility? So you publish the work, no one see you. So people will start to ask, who should be responsible for ensuring that the right readers are finding, reading, and applying the research? And who should be responsible for maximizing the visibility, reach, and impact of the research? So is it the publisher, is it the institution, or is it the researcher? After you publish, do you promote your journal? After you publish, did your institution promote your outcome? After you publish, what does the publisher do? So I would say that actually each of us, researchers, the institution, and also the publisher, we have to have this responsibility to make our research visible. Okay, so how to make the research to be visible? So this is actually the quote or the citation, the reference from the Malaysian Citation Center. So Malaysian Citation Center, I believe that most of the countries, we do have our citation for our journals. I know that Indonesia, we have it. And then most of the journals, most of the country, they have their own citation center to guide the local journals before they can index in the international body. So in Malaysia, we have a so-called Malaysian Citation Center. So it says that the success of a scholarly journal depends on developing a loyal readership who will become part of the scholarly community, citing the content and tell others about the value of the journal. Okay, in order for this to transpire, the journal needs to be discovered. The journal, you must make the journal to be visible. So how can you make the journal to be visible? The solution is the journal need to be indexed. So that's come to the reason for why now. Oh, so why people are pushing for the indexation? Okay, so perhaps next. Right, so journal indexation, definitely I will say that one word keep short, which is the quality, right? So if your journals have an indexation, so it means that the quality of the works will be accumulated. Okay, so please next. Right, so what types of the indexation we have? So indexation, not necessary to be the international indexes, like we know that well-known is the Scopus and the WOS. Each of the countries, we also have our own index, citation indexes. For Asian country, we have an ACI, Asian Citation Index. That is we consider as regional indexes. Okay, so the general indexes such like the Google Scholar. So these all are the indexation to ensure the journals. You can see most of the journals they will try to publish, we are indexed in this database. So actually that is to tell the readers, to tell the audience how serious we are. Okay, because if a publisher, they do not even go for the indexing. So meaning that they do not really have a sustainable plan. They do not actually take care of the articles that being published by them. So that is the reason for why the indexation is important for a journal. Okay, next. So the citation index, I'm looking at from the Malaysian perspective. So we know that we have an international citation, which is the WOS. We have the Scopus. The ACI is the one that I mentioned, in which they have a 10 Asian countries. And also the my site refers to the Malaysian Citation Center. Okay. So journal indexation, this is the part in which when we say that, how am I going to ensure the journals, that the articles that I submit to the journals, and the journals has a responsibility. So they will say that refer to their indexation. Okay, so this indexation is actually like our program. We do have Ministry of Education to give us a program standard in which they have something like an audit in order for you to follow. So same go to the journal indexation. How do you know that your journal is up to the standard and can attract the people to submit to you? So that is a criteria is to go through the indexation path. Okay, so what are the criteria? Each of the indexing body, they do have their very specific criteria for us to follow. So next, Scopus. Okay, so this is I try to start with the international indexation. I believe that most of you are aware, and the one of the very popular indexation is considered as the Scopus. So the Scopus journal selection criteria, they have a stage 1 and they have a stage number 2. You can see that they highlight very much on the peer review. Again, the peer review is something that they are going to evaluate. And another, they also highlight on the regular publication. You cannot only publish one in a year and then 2 years later you publish another one. So that is something that they do not want to see. Another thing is that they are very concerned on the ethics. So that's why you need to be very clear on what actually the policy the journals are heading. So that is like the minimum requirement or the criteria you need to follow before you can go to the stage number 2. Stage 2 of the criteria will be more challenging, in which they will look into the head until the tails of your journals, okay, in order for you to get indexed into their database. right? So that is a Scopus. Next, please. So so the decision basically, once you submit, so you say, perhaps you have a journal, you write, say, hey, Scopus is quite attractive. Let's just submit and see if we can get index or not. So normally they have a board, advisory board, to go through whatever that you submitted, and they will come up with the decision, whether accept or reject. So accept, congratulations, you can proceed, and then you become a reputable publisher. But when you have a rejection, normally they will have an embargo period for you. So meaning that they found that you are not serious. You simply submit for their indexation. You are wasting their time. Okay, so they might embargo your journals for more than maximum 5 years. Okay, so don't try before you are ready for the submission. So that is the advice. So next, so this is also the criteria for the WOS. We can see roughly their criteria for the Scopus and also for the WOS is quite similar. But for the WOS, they look very much emphasized on the impact factor. Okay, so next, go to the Asian Regional Index. So this is for our 10 neighboring countries: Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia. And you can see that if you have already a journals ready, so they are actually opening the application until today. So I'm asking my journal editors, please submit by today if you are ready. Okay, so this is actually to show us our commitment on how serious we are towards the indexation and how we operate our journals. So this is the regional types of the index. Okay, next go to Malaysia. I will start with the Malaysia citation. So Malaysia government realized that most of the journals, when we start the journals, we don't know where to go, right? Even though we have a very a guideline from the Scopus, from the WOS to follow, but we are just, I would say that the journals or the publisher, especially from university, they are like newbies. Okay, we do not know how to follow. All right, so the Malaysian Citation Center, they developed a very clear guideline to guide us on how to go through all the process. Okay, so in Malaysia, most of the journals, if we establish in Malaysia, we have to register ourselves in the My Journal, one of the portal. And currently, this is a 2022 statistics. Malaysia alone, we have 995 journals. And out of these 995 journals, only 1/3 are able to be entered into the indexation of the local database, which is 354. And out of these 354, only less than half of it are able to enter the ACI. So meaning that even though the criteria is similar, but the weightage is a bit different. So we can see that from the registration up to the local indexation, 2/3 has been kicked out, right? And then from the My side to the ACI, another 50% has been kicked out, right? And from the ACI to the Scopus, ACI and the Scopus, their criteria are quite similar. So we can see that they have roughly 100 of the 5 journals of the Malaysia journals are currently in the My side, in the Scopus. And out of so many of the Malaysian journals, only 13 of the journals are in the Web of Science. So we can see this indexation is to help us to challenge from one stage to another path, to ensure our quality, to ensure how serious we are towards our journals management. Okay, next. So now I would like to share with you our very pioneer journal in which these journals has been indexed in our Malaysia Citation Center last year. Okay, so the Malaysia this MCC, or we can say that is My site, their criteria follow exactly the Scopus. Okay, because many years back, the Scopus says that Malaysian journals, please, they actually are having a collaboration in which they says that Malaysian journals, before you submit to Scopus, you can try to train up your young journals. Okay, so that is why this MCC come into the picture. So they develop a very well structured plan for all the journals to follow. Okay, So they have a certain criteria, for example, the lifetime, ISSN, the quality control, and also the publication ethics, meaning that this stage 1, if you do not fulfill, you never think about to proceed to the next stage. Okay, next please. So I'm going to demonstrate by using our journals, which is the JETA. So this is a Journal of Engineering and the Technology, and also the Applied Physics. So this journals has been indexed in the my site in 2022, and this is the example of the lifetime, meaning that they would like to see when the historical record. If you claim yourself, you already start your journals in 2020, so make sure all the records can be found in the website. Okay, so that is one of the mandatory criteria for them to evaluate you. Okay, next. So the second criteria is that you must register with an EISSN. We know that ISSN and the EISSN, and most of the journals, sometimes they can have two, ISSN and EISSN. And we know that currently, because of the printings, actually we are moving towards the paperless. So that's why most of the current journals, they only have the EISSN, meaning that they publish online. Okay, ISSN is the paper printed copies, right? So each of the journals, before you can publish, you must have the ISSN. And this ISSN must be used for every of your regular publication. Okay, next please. Okay, quality control, they would like to know, just now I mentioned, each of the journals, the governance, they need to know what kinds of the review you have did it, right? So you have to very clearly spell out your journals are having a peer review process. So is it single blind? Is it double blind? So you will have to clearly mention in the website, right? Okay, so next please. So the publication ethics is something what the authors can do, what the authors cannot do. For example, when you are submitting to this journal, so you have to make a declaration your works has not been submitted to any others journals at the same time. So this is something, the ethics that we need to inform the authors, right? So to create their awareness on that. Okay, so next we have stage number 2. Stage 1 is mandatory. If you do not have that criteria, you do not need to think about, you need to for the indexation. So the stage 2 will include more criteria like the timeliness. So if you promise to publish on March, so you make sure you publish every March. If you miss one of the publication, then you are game over. Okay, so you can publish early, but you cannot publish later than what you promised. So there is timeliness. So subject, we have an editorial, we have a manuscript submission guideline. We also have these are all the criteria. So perhaps I can just walk through very fast on that. The timeliness, next please. Timeliness, you can see that you just need to mention. So these journals is publishing I believe that most of the, the well-established publisher or the commercial publishers, they are using the rolling. You won't see any months of the publication. Once accepted, once typeset is ready, they will just publish. So there is no frequency. But most in the traditionals or the new journals, they do have this timeliness, in which you need to make sure that, 15 minutes, right? About to that. Okay, so if you promise that it's a biannual, so make sure that you have to publish that articles in that particular month. Okay, next please. Okay, subject, you must mention that if I think that if you are aware, some of the journals in which they are in the Q1 currently being suspended by some of the indexation body, mainly because of the subject area. If you say that your journal published something on the economics, but when people go through the website and they found that actually you do not publish economics, but you publish engineering, then you are in trouble. So that meaning that you do not publish, you do not select based on what your subject you wish to publish. So that is also a criteria for them to evaluate. Okay, next please. So editorial, you must make sure that you cannot simply put a name without affiliation, right? So name, affiliation, and more encouraged if you can have an email address, right? Okay, so please next. All right, so manuscript submission guideline, you need to tell them how you want the journals to look like, so they do not simply submit some things that you do not want and reject it. Okay, right, next, please. All right, International Editorial Convention. So you also in the guideline, you have to follow the title, the abstract, the keywords, the reference, and the affiliation. Make sure you have a proper template for the authors to follow. Okay, right, next, please. So the references, make sure it is in the Roman characters, right? Else you will have to translate it. Okay, so that is also quite surprising, but it is actually also one of the criteria for the indexing. Okay, please next. Peer review quality, make sure, okay, so this peer review quality, I believe that when you go through some of the journals, you can see that when the authors submit their work, when the journal accept the paper, and when the paper is being published. So perhaps you may wonder, why is it so important? Because this is to measure the quality of the works. If you see that submitted today, accepted tomorrow, published next day. So what is your impression on this peer review quality? So the length, only within 3 days, you can just get one thing done. So it is quite impossible, right? So this is something very important for them to judge you on the quality. Okay, but you cannot takes years. Okay, so type of the review, as I mentioned, depends on whether it is single, double, or the blind or the triple review. Okay, next please. Okay, language, make sure it is in the English language. Definitely you can publish your own country language. There is no problem with the indexation, no worry. But just to make sure that 2 things you must make sure it's in English. The first one is the title, and the second one's the abstract, and the third one is the keywords. They only require these 3 to be in the English. The rest can be in our home language. Okay, next please. Okay, so this is actually phase 2, meaning that once you pass the phase 1, stage 1, and stage 2, that's why our journals already get indexed. Right, so this phase 2 is more challenging, in which is actually the criteria for us to get indexed in the international indexation, such like the Scopus. First, they want to have the journal website. Right, so if you found that your journal website is not ready, then definitely the Scopus will stop and they do not continue to review your project. Okay, please next. So this is the journal website. Make sure it is well operate for 24 hours per day. Okay, so next please. So the stage number 2, again, you can see why the author they also want to look at the authors. Editorials, just now we already mentioned, right? So why is there any difference between the phase 1 and phase 2? Phase 1, they only look at authors. Phase 2, they look at the authors from which country. They do not want all the journals being published by, let's say, MMU, the journals by MMU, and all the authors are from MMU. So this is something not healthy. Okay, so that is the first criteria. Editorial board, you also need to have a diversity, because, for example, if your journals mention the international journal, all right, and someone's from the let's say from the Indonesia publish, and they publish something that the topics is on the culture. How do you know that that culture if you are not the one from that country? So you need to have this editorial advisory to advise on the validity of the evidence that they provided. Okay, journal citation is also a reputation for your journal. If your journal cannot gain the citation, in other words, your journals, nobody is reading the articles. So that is also not healthy. Okay, and last one, I think that is the acknowledgement of the research grant. Many of the of the researcher or the authors do not aware of this. The journals also do not aware of this. But currently, you can see most of the well-developed journal system, they do have a one session and ask you to acknowledge the research grant. So if your project is funded, make sure you acknowledge them properly. So because this is also something very important, and it's the ethics, right? So next. Okay, so this is all I have gone through. This next. Next again. Next. Next. Okay, next, please. Right, so MMU press journey. So I would like to share just a few minutes left. So just share with you on our MMU press since the establishment and what are we, where are we now? Okay, please next. So actually we can see that currently we have 8 journals, but we start our journal in 2019, in which there are a group of the volunteers from various faculties. They take the initiative to start their faculty journals. Okay, we are just like blind leading the blind, okay, but we managed to sustain at this moment. So in 2019, we have 2 engineering journals from the 2 engineering faculty, and 2020, we have 2 social science journals from different faculty. So in 2021, when people say seeing that, okay, so that might be something they can learn from. So we have various of the faculties to join and establish their new journals. And in 2022, we have another journals. Beside the journals, we also start to explore the different types of the categories of the publication, research books. And because I believe that if you know MMU, so we know MMU is a, you can say that we have a very strong researchers from the science and technology. We have strong researchers from the social science, but we have a groups of the practitioners in which they are very good in designing, in the drawing, in the arts, in which the articles, the journals may not suitable to them. So we are exploring as a publisher, we would like to guide the journals, juniors. That's why we are exploring different types of the publication, like the creative and the arts. And we try to mold them towards some publication that can add value to the university. Okay, so that is mainly our make in MMU so far. Next, please. So this I would say that we are very lucky to have these 8 editors-in-chief, in which they lead the journals from 0 until today. So the Ijongfa is the management and also the business and accounting journal. The JCLC is a communication and the language studies. IJCM is a new growing. This journal is also being indexed by the MySite in 2023. It's on the creative multimedia and also the education. So IPBSS is a bit new. It's a social science journals. Okay, perhaps you can find out more by looking at the link later on. Click next, please. So we have engineering. The JEDUP is the one our flagship journal. I would say that, in which they already he already get himself into the MySite and also being indexed in the DOAJ. So we also have engineer robotics. We have a computer science, and we also have a law journal. Right. So these are our 8 editors-in-chief. Okay, please next. Right. So this is our achievement so far, and also the commitments to the authors. The achievement is not only to build the branding or the reputation. To us as the university publishers, we have our commitments when the authors submit to us. We know that they trust us. So what can we give in return? We must commit and then to make our journals better. So because of the trust. So that is something that we can promise. Okay, next please. Okay, so we also do some support to our own team, our team, workshop to our journal editors, because as you know that I have to be very frank with you, we are just like blind leading the blind. So we have to help get support in terms of everything is from 0. So we learn from each other. If we are not able to learn from each other, then we have to get someone to help us. So this is actually a 2 days workshop. We have it last 2 days. So that's why, Ploy, sorry in replying your email later, because we are having this audit and also the website enhancement for our journals. Okay, next please. So how do we grow our juniors researchers? We have a regular workshops in which especially we try to train our staff and the students, and these all journals are doing voluntary to our researchers and the staff, despite their heavy workload and so on. So they are, when they are having a semester break, so they will start to calling for a workshop, in which those who are juniors or the PG student, postgraduate student would like to join, so they will happily to share with them the knowledge and the opportunity to publish with their juniors. Okay, all right, so these are some of the activities that we conducted. Next, please. Okay, next, please. Okay, so beside the journal publication, now we are going to another path, which is the publication of the books. So we see that many of those publications, so journals is just a piece of the work, but books that do have a reference types of you can have it as a long-term plan. So for an encouragement based on one of the statistics, they say that if you have 5 years of experience in the academics, it is actually good for you to publish a book. So you are getting all the 5 years of experience, and then you come up with something that you learn so people can learn from you. So which is different mode of the publication like journals. Okay, next please. Besides the workshop, we also have a collaborations with the others, and we also organize a conference with one of our collaborators from the Pakistan, and we have our first conference last year, and we managed to help them to publish some of the articles from their PG student. Okay, next please. So this is our commitment to make our journals more visible, in which we have our annual event, so-called article writing competition. And last year is our first writing competition, and we have 66 winners from various of the universities and the countries. Okay, next please. So for the launching, as I mentioned, we have the responsible to our authors. So once they publish the book, we will have to, okay, all right, I know the time's up. So this is the launching, in which once the book is being published, we will try to promote them. Okay, please, next. So I think can go to the last, okay, last one. Next, please. Okay, this is some things that we offer to the journals. So article writing competitions, article writing workshop, the conference and the symposium, in order for us to commit to the journals in order for them to grow. Okay, next please. Okay, so these are the books, what we can offer to the authors. All right, please next. Okay, last, perhaps do let me allow to do some promotion. So our article writing competitions for the journals are opening actually tomorrow. So I would like to invite all of the countries to encourage your staff or your students to join us together and publish with MMU Press. Okay, right, I think this is the last slide, Ploy. Sorry for taking up the times. Okay, right, I think that's all for the presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Tan, for your sharing. Yeah, we actually want to have some time for question and answer. Yeah, so now we open the time, yeah, for the Q&A. If anyone you have a question, yeah, please feel free. Yeah, you can on your mic and ask, or you can type on the chat. We have about 15 minutes, yeah, before we end the session. So please feel free to ask your question.
Okay,
I think we have.
I have some question. So Anthony is from Sweden University, Cambodia. I think that your presentation is very nice and very interesting. That you can prepare your journal, like your publication, and in the international, in your country also. So, but when I heard from you, I think that for our university may be a little bit difficult to follow, but I try to learn from you. But I want to ask you that what the lesson learned from what the lesson learned for the government, governance and citation and review, peer review and article submission in terms of the journal publication from your website. And then this is the first question. And second question is how to identify for any article to be the actual high impact factor from your journal. And the last question is how much of the fee charging for the article? Thank you. Do you see?
Okay, right. Thank you, Dr.
PD.
How to pronounce? Dr. Chi. All right. Okay. So you have a lot of questions. Okay. I try to understand as much as possible. Right. The first thing is about the governance, if I understand correctly. Governance.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, each of our journals, we do allow for some flexibilities in terms of the review process. So we can see that the journals, the highest authorities is basically the chief editors as the leader. So there are some ones who are very expert in terms of the research. They can make the decision on whether that journals deserve to be, articles deserve to be published or not. So from that side, they will decide on whether that is a peer review, who will be the peer review to process, if there is any contradict in terms of the peer review. So the editors will normally send out to the third reviewer for them to get the third review before they make the decision. So we want to have a very fair decision for the authors before we come up to the final decision. So that is from the managing a journals from the editors in chief as well as their editorial board, right? So in terms of the university, we do have a standardized of the publication policies. We do have ethics in which each of the journals need to comply with. For example, I believe that just now you mentioned that what will be the fees to be charged, something like that. So that is a government, that is our university policies. So whatever they need to change, we do allow the flexibility. But towards the end of the day, so they will have, when they have some things to propose to the university level, so the university will have a committee to look into it, to investigate it, and then before we come up with a decision on that. So perhaps I answer all of your questions, hopefully.
Tan, I think so. There's one important last question. I believe I can catch his last question is how to attract a good article that will have high citation to publish in your journal, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So that is definitely, we know that that is always very challenging, not only for our local university journals, but I believe that is a challenging task to everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have no answer for that.
Yeah, maybe I can offer one. Actually, when I publish a paper, I receive 5 invitations for other journal. I don't know how they know. Maybe they search and then directly to my email and ask me to submit my next paper to journal directly from the editor.
Oh.
I see a hand raised by Peter. Peter, you have question?
Okay.
Peter, do you have? Yeah.
You are still mute, Peter. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get it. So thank you very much. That was a very, very helpful presentation. I wanted to know how many of your authors in your MMU journals are actually from MMU. So if some of the universities now consider starting a journal, they might think that actually the majority of the authors could come from their own institution. How is your experience and your policy?
Very challenging question to ask, to answer. Okay, so that is very true, especially when you are starting a new journal, and we can see that no indexation when you are asking external to publish, that is a huge challenge. But I have to be fair, to tell you frankly, so our current situations in terms of the journals and also the diversity, so I would say that only 40% come from the MMU, whereas the 60% are from the external. And yeah, that is based on our previous statistics. At the very beginning, we are exploring to the, we are getting the papers from the other conference organizer. So that is our strategies in order for us to get the external papers. Whereas for the internals, actually we are educating them to publish books rather than the journals.
Personally, I submitted one just to support my MMU press journal.
Thank you so much, Prof. Ong.
Because I think nowadays almost all journals are hunting for authors, actually. Hunting for people. I was so surprised. They are so aggressive. They offer you something to submit your paper to judge journal.
True.
Yeah, we'll open for maybe another few more questions. We still have about 8 minutes. Anyone?
Me, maybe?
Yeah, please, Sinta.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Tan. It's very meaningful presentation. So you mentioned how important the peer review, peer reviewer. So I think most of us, if we want to create our own journal, it is important to choose the proper peer reviewer. So do you have a tips for all of us in the university to choose a proper peer reviewer? That's the first question. And the second one, I think, since you also mentioned about the predatory journals, I think we need to recognize which one is a predatory journal and which one are not. So I think know-how about this is very important. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sita. All right, so for the first question on the how to get the peer review, sometimes, again, even though for the Q1 journals, I have to say that they also found a challenge times to get us the correct reviewers. So we are new journals, so normally we will try to search around at our networking. So we explore to the conference. So sometimes it's the friends helping the friends. So collaborators helping the collaborators to do all of this one. So that's why that is important to have friends. Okay, so we have no choice, because even though we have I myself receiving a lot of the invitation from the Q1 journals to become the reviewer, which is also actually fit into my scope of the study. But frankly speaking, I reject some of them because of the time limitation.
Yeah.
So it's not that they do not willing to review for you, it's just that it's a time constraint. So sometimes the reviewer is just because you are my friends, you are not collaborators, so I will do it for you. Okay, sometimes that is how we have to make friends and then have to collaborate to get the review done. And then regarding the second one, the predatories, that is a very subjective question. So, but you can try to search on some of the website in which they try to highlight to you what are the predatory journals looks like. I know that there are many of the publishers is being pinpoint like the predatory journals, but we do not need to make, we do not, it is very hard for us to say that that kinds of the publisher is considered as predatory or not. It's very subjective, because we can see that even though people are criticizing on the publisher, but we have to admit that some of the articles being published is of very good quality. So it's very hard for us to identify what kinds of the journals are considered as a predatory. But there are a list, perhaps I can share with Roy later on, in which there is a guideline, but it is not a definite list for the predatory. Okay.
Okay, Professor, there's a question in the chat. Yeah, from Professor Cho Min. She want to know more about the triple blind reviewing. How this is, yeah, the triple blind.
Manage. Okay, all right. Okay, so triple blind, the single blind meaning that authors do not know you, but you know the authors, right? So that is quite straightforward. The triple blind meaning that normally the journals are quite well established. We can see that when the journals are quite well established, when they submit, they have a journal manager. So the journal manager is not an academic, so they won't know who you are. So perhaps Prof. Ong is the one who sent to me. If I'm the editor-in-chief, I know who is Prof. Ong, so I wouldn't reject you, perhaps, okay? But for this triple blind review, meaning that when the journal submit to the system, they do not reach the editor-in-chief, okay? Or before the journal submit, they have a very clear guideline to you to say that you have to exclude all the author's affiliation and so on to make sure the journal itself is anonymous. So they have a checking on that. Before you go to the editor-in-chief for the first decision, the manager, who is normally not an academic, they already delete all the information that can identify you. So meaning that the authors, you do not know who is the one who review you. The reviewer will not know who are you, the one who write the papers. The editor-in-chief itself also do not know who you are. So that is triple blind review.
Yeah, basically more work. Yeah, more work to manage that.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So, we need a general manager for triple blind. You mean?
Normally,
we need a general manager.
There is means the common practice in the industry normally is someone who is not from the academics, so they do not know who you are. So that will be fair in order for us to have the triple blind review. Because if you are submitting to, let's say, if you are a well-known researcher, you are well-known in that discipline, and you submit to someone, some journals in which the editors already know who you are. So that is impossible to go to the triple blind review. So normally that will be an admin who handle that part.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any more question? If not, Peter have one more, or Peter? Because I see there's no hand.
Say there are almost, you say there are almost 30,000 journals. So there is the temptation for a young researcher to submit a new article to maybe 5 papers to maximize the likelihood of getting the paper published, isn't it?
So sorry again.
Isn't that a temptation for a young researcher to submit a paper to 5 papers, to 5 journals, to maximize the likelihood of finally getting published? So how do you avoid that?
That is mainly, I believe that should start from the education from the supervisor in which there's that they train the supervisees are in which when they submit for a publication, avoid multiple submission. So
but most of the journal actually will ask us to declare whether we submit to any other.
Yeah, they will have a declaration in which we need to do.
But there are still people do that. Yeah, they still have multiple submission.
Yeah, it's a matter of research ethics. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the next topic. Yeah.
But another question quite similar with what Peter asking is, since citation index is very important to the authors, and authors try to increase their citation index by self-citation or asking the student to citate the paper. So I think it's also interesting if you can share kind of criteria how to be a proper a citation that's still allowed by the ethics issues, and which one are not allowed.
I believe there is an international standard in they have a benchmark on how many % of the self-citation is not healthy. That is a temptation sometimes we have to come across in terms of you as a researchers, I want to increase my citation. As a journal, they also have a stress to increase the citation. So these are some things to there is a benchmark, international benchmark. At this moment, I cannot recall what is the percentage in which it is allowed and is considered as not healthy. But there is an indexes in which we can search in the WOS, if I remember correctly.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I think it's come to the end of the time now. Now it's already 4:30 Malaysia time. Yeah, we scheduled this session for 1.5 hours. Yeah, so once again, we'd like to thank Prof. Tan. But before we end the session, I would like to ask you, Floyd, can we show the next slide, please? Yeah, what are your key takeaways from this sharing? If you can, please scan and give us your feedback. Yeah, so that it's good for us to know what you have take away from this session. So I would like to thanks again, Prof. Tan, Xiaohui, for your time and the preparations, your effort to and also especially your good effort to lead MMU press. It's definitely a very tough journey. I remember when I was appointed as the first director for Research Management Center, RMC director.
Yeah.
I have in my strategy plan that I submit to the International Dean course, the PUB, Peter. One of them actually is I include is for publication. We want to start. That is 2008. Yeah, but my successor didn't pick up, unfortunately. But I'm glad now it happened already. Yeah. We have so many journals. It's definitely very difficult to attract good article to us. But we must find strategy, and we hopefully some will make it. Yeah, not all, but at least a few. Thank you very much. Yeah. Again, on behalf of the team, we would like to thank you. Yeah, and for your sharing. So I pass the time back to Floyd.
Yep, thank you very much, Prof. Tan and Prof. Du Sheng. It's very insightful presentation. I hope it's very useful for the rest of the participants as well. And from the key takeaway, we have some responses, like including the quality is important, peer review is also important, create qualified journal from the beginning is very important as well. And some say, like, I hope I can apply the knowledge to the university perhaps, and not only start a journal, but the citation and long-term goals to make the journal sustainable is also a crucial way. Okay, so I think this would be it for the key takeaway for this session. Before I close this enrichment day, so may we go to the next slide. We have some news coming up for the next session, which is the 5th virtual enrichment day. The topics tentatively will be on the research ethics management. The date is on 24th April 2024, the same time, which is from 2 to 3:30 Bangkok time. So please save your date. The official invitation will be definitely sent to your email again. And lastly, on behalf of the Female Right Head, we would like to also share with you and promote some announcement about the interregional research on symposium. Kel, can you go to the next slide? Which will be on 20 to 22 November, Bangkok. The theme will be on the transforming higher education towards sustainable development. And clearly on this theme, we have the 3 texts that will accept for the abstract, including digital sustainability, flexible pathway, and climate actions. So if you're interested and would like to hear more information, feel free to scan the QR code, and then the slide and recording for this session will be also shared to your email. So that is for today. We are 5 minutes behind the schedule. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, Prof. Tan, for your effort sharing us today. And
Thank
also
you.
see you next time.
See
Thank
you
you,
next
Professor Tan. Thank you,
Thank you so much.
everybody.
See you next
Bye
time.
bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.